everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Dharma Bum Show. Thank you guys so much for joining me for yet another video. Um, I really want to say thank you to everybody since the last video who has liked all of the videos on my channel and subscribed to the channel. You guys are really making this community. We've gotten to meet this week a bunch of new folks who are really interesting. That I really feel that the community is growing. It's like a sub community, right, within the greater community, and it's what we've talked about a lot on this channel and a little bit on Lamachaga's channel about internet sangha and how important it is in this day and age when we are all so separated and so isolated from each other. I'm a big believer in it, and it's a great pride and joy to be able to try to do my little part to build that community online. So thank you guys so much for the love to the channel. Thank you so much to the financial donor. You know who you are. Really allowing us to have the freedom, the creative freedom now. The weather has cooled out quite a bit. We're here again today in the dog park. My co-hosts are orbiting about here in different places with me. Very seasonable and cool day. Um, so it's quite a relief from the heat that we've had. Thank you guys so much for giving us the freedom to be able to do these videos and to be with you guys online. Um, and I think the last thing I want to say, like in the way of channel news, is just that up until now, we have been really focusing. I've been focusing on the first sort of 7 episodes of the Dharma Bum Show have been about my core practice and sort of making a foundation for Western converts and new Buddhists especially, and then reaching out and building community. But that's what the topics have been about, is sort of core ideas and thoughts to get started. Now I feel like I've sort of covered that base for a minute, and I'm going to I can branch out into more interesting ideas. Definitely want to do book reviews, movie reviews. My co-hosts are signing in here to work. Um, and so be able to do, like I said, book reviews, movie reviews, various maybe Dharma products, things like that. And then different interesting thoughts that I've had over the years of being a Buddhist and stuff like that. So able to be a little bit more interesting and sort of having archived those first 7 episodes at the beginning. That way, it's just easier to point people like who come in the future. I can just say, look, if you go look at those first 7 episodes and see what you think. If you're just starting out, and give me a chance now to blossom out into more interesting topics. And on that note, today I'm going to tackle one that I find incredibly interesting: the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So let's just dive right into today's show. This is it. This is the liberation through understanding the in between, um, the bardo or death. And this book and the teachings around the Tibetan Book of the Dead within Vajrayana Buddhism are pivotal and key to the reason why I converted, why I chose to convert. And the reason is pretty simple. It's a roadmap to death. And very specific, fine-grained, very detailed roadmap to the in-between, to death, the part that comes in between this life and the next. Um, I guess I would preface by saying, and this is a topic for a whole other episode, but I preface by saying I'm a firm believer in reincarnation, and have been for some time. So for me, what is necessary now is I need to know how to navigate that space in between lives. And if possible, can I have some determining influence? Can I have some sort of conscious input into how, where, and when I I next take incarnation? These are all really, as you get older, especially, I'll be 60 in about a week from now, I think. I turned 60 on the 18th. Xander Bay just celebrated his birthday. You might have seen the videos on the channel on the 1st. So it's kind of interesting, 6 and 60, very auspicious numbers this year. But definitely when you get to be about my age, this is quite a burning question, right? I mean, inquiring minds want to know. And so this isn't just a book that talks about, hey, yeah, you're going to survive and everything's okay, just believe. This is uh, a, a roadmap that can help you navigate and succeed in that space. And so that's pretty profound to me. And I've come to have a great deal of faith in its content, in the accuracy of its content, and I'll explain why in just a minute as I explain how I deal with the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Because another caveat, I don't have a teacher. So I'm not doing any high practices out of this book, okay? I'm going to give you a very basic take on it. That's my take on it, what I think it's sort of, for me, the general purpose that it serves. AV is chiming in to a poodle who's about 3 miles away, Xavi. Um, I think that, so I'm just going to give you, my basic ideas and understand these aren't teachings. You need to have a teacher. You should take anything you hear on this channel or anywhere else to your teacher if you have one. But these are my ideas, and this is how I work with the Tibetan Book of the Dead currently in my teacherless state and my ideas on it. So straight off the bat, let's just talk about the actual book itself. I recommend Robert Thurman's translation and explanation. It's a very, very, very good one. The best, in my opinion. It's interesting that the Kindle version, the ebook version, which I have, costs more than the paperback. But in any case, I also have the paperback, so somewhere in a storage locker, I think. Um, but and I've read this book so many times that I just can't even count, cover to cover, over and over again. And that's kind of the point with the Tibetan Book of the Dead, is the repetitiveness of it. And they have also some really great guided meditation tapes, audio tapes of it, where you can do a sort of almost a guided meditation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. You probably wouldn't want to do it all in one sitting, I guess maybe by chapter or whatever. I'm sure it's broken up in a certain way. Most of them are designed for that way. So, and the idea is that you repeat it over and over and over again, uh, and in various different media, in my opinion. And we'll talk about that. I have ideas on virtual reality and how that can be harnessed for this purpose. And so what is the purpose? You say, why repeating it? Why are you repeating this over and over and over again? Well, the idea is that if you repeat the roadmap enough times over and over and over again between now and when you depart, you will have it memorized. So when you go into that other world, when you go into the bardo, you will um it will be something that will be second nature to you, this knowledge. So that's really the idea. And so you repeat it as many times as you can. You read it, you immerse in media. I have something queued up here on the browser. I'll show you. This is one of my first ever experiences. This is quite an old series of videos, but it was done by, I believe, maybe I'm just guessing, some early gamers. It uses some very early, basic, crude CGI and whatnot. I think we can take a look at it. So I'm going to try that and expand the screen and see if I can show you just a little minute. you sort of get the idea. It's I'm going to put the link to this series of videos. It's one of the first times I ever had that I remember having a sort of really visual grasping of, you know, that I could really imagine the things that are in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The visualizations, like all Vajrayana Buddhism, are very fine-grained, very detailed, and sometimes very difficult, even for those of us blessed with like a super-duper imagination. So, um, and being able to see it is another way. Um, and this series of videos it goes through the actual Tibetan Book of the Dead, but in a visual way and audio. So very interesting way to sort of seed your imagination anyway during your contemplations of the content of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So yeah, and then there's sort of one final practice. This is where it gets a little bit heavy, guys. But so one of the aspects or sort of common things in one of the practices, one of the threads of the Tibetan Book of the Dead is the Tibetan Buddhist, the Vajrayana Buddhist, I should say, practice of lucid dreaming. And now, so what is lucid dreaming? Really quick, because that's a whole other episode to do. But what lucid dreaming is essentially, so you're in your dream. 99.999% of the time, you're just at the whim and whimsy of the dream. You're going along with the flow, and flying pink elephants seem normal to you, and it's no big deal. It's the world is in there, however bizarre, is normal, and it's all okay. And you don't have a lot of there's not a lot of decision making going on. You're just kind of part of the flow of the dream. The idea of lucid dreaming is to wake up to the fact that you are dreaming while you are still in the dream, to become aware of the fact that you are in fact dreaming. Um, and it's really actually, in a nutshell, that simple. And so there's so much to talk about here and unbox, and I don't want to make it a really long video. This is a book, and it's been my Bible on lucid dreaming for, golly, so many years, so many years. It's Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge. And he really has a lot of respect for the Tibetan Buddhist practice of this. He doesn't go into, talking about that in huge detail in the book. It's pretty secular, and he also is the founder of the Lucid Dreaming Institute, which we'll talk about in a second. And but the book is profoundly good and easy read and easy to understand, and lays out chapter by chapter the steps that you can take if you're interested in participating in the practice of lucid dreaming. And so, uh, real quick, we'll just look at, you can get it either on Amazon in paperback form. It's about $9, and I'm bringing that up now. This link will be also, all these links will be in the description, guys, as usual. And then there is a free version at the Internet Archive, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, that I believe is pretty legit. And so I'm going to include that link as well. It's a PDF version, so not as easy and to read. There is no Kindle version that I could find. And then this is their institute, the Lucidity Institute. Now, I didn't have time to recheck their store and everything. They do have a nice new app that assists with lucid dreaming. As usual, most of this stuff now is becoming appified. And I'm going to include the link to this as well. In the old days, and I don't know if they still have them, I'd love to know if they had them. They used to even sell goggles. These are they're actually in a blindfold, a nice padded blindfold kind of rig that you put on your face. It was dark colored, and it would detect when you were going into rapid eye movement. which is when you're in a dreaming state. You're in a state known as REM, or rapid eye movement, and this can be detected quite easily, actually, physically, by a high tech sort of device, a blindfold. In this case, it's like a padded sort of thing that you put around your eyes, and it would detect when you went into REM. And then what it would do is it would shine a gentle colored light of your choice, either strobing or not. It was all your choice how you programmed it, but it would shine this light onto your sleeping eyelids, and some of that light could leak through into your dream, and it would leak through sometimes in strange ways. Sometimes the sky would just light up, but other times you might, if it were, say it were a red light, you might just suddenly be holding a glass of water and it turns from water to ruby red wine, you know. But and so the color leaks into your dream that in that fashion. But the idea is the color would leak in and then remind you that, oh my goodness, I'm dreaming. So yeah. And that's the Lucidity Institute. Lots of great stuff going on there. Very secular, but still, my just from reading Stephen LaBerge's work and watching his videos, there's quite a bit of influence from the ancient wisdom of Tibetan Buddhism and their practice of lucid dreaming. And so now you might ask, what the heck does all of this have to do with the original topic of this video, which is the Tibetan Book of the Dead? Well, this is what it has to do with it. Um, lucid dreaming, if you can, and now I guess we should go over a little bit about lucid dreaming, just a little bit more about it. There is a significant, not insignificant, I should say, percentage of people for whom lucid dreaming is so easy that it would make most of you cry. I mean, just like it's like a skill that can be instantaneously assimilated. And this is a significant percentage of the population. I happen to be one of those blessed individuals. I picked up a book at the age of 17 in a library in my home state of Maine, and read it, and that night was able to achieve a lucid dream, and have been able to achieve them very, very easily ever since. And I explored the new techniques just to find new ways and interesting ways to induce the state. But for me, I am in the category. I'm also in the same category. Similar people who have that similar skill set also usually are very hypnotizable. They're considered like, if you rate the scale on how easy I can be hypnotized, if I choose to be hypnotized, how easy I can go into that trance state, it's very easy, right? And I also have a very active visual, like, and general just imagination. So that being said, now, so then there's this vast middle, of obviously the group of people in the middle who, with some amount of work, be it a lot or a little, can induce lucid dreaming. And then there's an unfortunate percentage that's not insignificant, of people who will never be able to do this. They just, for whatever reason, can never get it to work, and never probably will. I don't know the details of why that is, but I just know that it's absolutely true. So um and so there it is. And I think that I'll just talk really quick. I've got a few more minutes I can put into this video of how I go about doing this. Uh, so for me, the technique that has worked the best throughout the years is very simple. Begin, first of all, you need to keep a dream diary. This is where the new app that I pointed out on the site there, at the Lucid Dreaming Institute, is very handy. But a good old-fashioned pencil and piece of paper next to your bed at night is also just as easy. Why do you gotta, and you need to write it down the moment. You literally need to roll over and not reach for your phone, just your glasses, not even your water, your glasses and your pad of paper, and you need to write it down that quick. And the reason is dreams slip away. They just vanish, and very quickly, from short-term memory, unless you write them down. There's power in writing, and there's power of memory, among other things, in writing. So you need to do that. And so the app facilitates that. It can be perhaps even verbal. You could record your own thoughts on it as you reach for your water, but you need to do it right away upon awakening, and you need to get that information down. You need to start that right away, because that is a process of building up, of beginning to learn how to remember your dreams, and learn how to engram them from into short-term memory, and from short-term memory into long-term memory, because you can't work with something you don't remember. And most of the time we are in a reality that we forget within 35 seconds of waking up. So how you have to capture that somehow. The easiest way is a journal. So that's it. You start with that. Start right away while you're waiting and working on anything else. The other thing that I do, and it's really for the most part the only other thing I do, unless I'm experimenting with a new technique, but the other thing I do is take a colored piece of string, a color that's meaningful to you, really. It doesn't even really matter. It's not about the color, but something fairly noticeable color, red, purple, whatever, and tie it on your wrist. Not tight, just enough so it's not going to fall off. And then go into your mobile phone and set an alarm for every hour. Make certain that the alarm is not only at least on vibrate, it can be on audio and vibrate, but make sure vibrate is on. Tactile sensation will help. And when your alarm goes off every hour, pause whatever you're doing, even however important you can do this. You can spare 3 seconds to do this in almost any, even a social situation. I want you to look down at your wrist, look at the thread. If you see the thread there, first of all, then you recite to yourself, I'm not dreaming. This is not a dream. And continue to do this. At some point in a dream, which again will begin as a random sort of firing of synapses, very random, unfocused thing, in all likelihood, 99% of the time, if you look at your wrist, you will not see the thread. And you will notice that lack of the thread, the colored thread on your wrist, and you will become, oh my God, I'm dreaming because where's the thread? Another cue that you can also use in dreams is writing. If you can hang above your bed a sign. It just says, I'm not dreaming, in block print. Really, like, even print it out on a printer, colored paper, and hang it to your ceiling so that you can see it when you're laying on your bed. In dreams, the centers of your brain that interpret text are one of the many centers of your brain that are shut down during the sleep and dreaming process. You cannot read text in your dreams, period. And people can argue with me in the comments if you want, but I can bring out the psychological and psychiatric studies to show you that that's just a given, that along with motor and other functionality of your body and senses, your ability to interpret text, written text, is, that center is off, in the off position while you're dreaming. So if you look up over your bed and you can't read that sign, it's just a blur, you're dreaming. And you'll know that. You'll remember that because it's such a cool and trippy thing that you're constantly looking at every night when you go to sleep. And so these techniques are all I needed. Again, I'm part of the easy, lucky ones, okay? Um, but there's more in the book, and again, they even have technology with the blindfolds and everything that can help some of the more stubborn um, situations to break loose and be able to experience this at least a little bit. So what is the point? Why do this? Okay, at all. And the idea again is if you can master um, becoming aware, awakening to your situation in a dream, and which is an altered state of consciousness, then you can almost certainly become aware. You can replicate that and become aware that you're dead in the bardo, and then really make use of that roadmap that you've taken the time to memorize, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, where we said, we're going to go to great length to read it over and over again, ingrain every detail of the Tibetan Book of the Dead into us, visually, every way, really realize the content. Then if you, as you do in a dream, a lucid dream, become aware that when you're in the death state in the bardo, then utilizing this and being able to navigate that space, and again maybe even being able to influence how and where and when you become incarnated again, this precious ability, and would be facilitated by this. One of the things that has come to my mind as an additional thought to this, as I have contemplated this over the years, is that this idea really works all the way around. What if awakening, and I don't know what awakening is, I'm not enlightened, but what if awakening, as we describe it, is nothing more than becoming aware that this is a dream? The same way we become aware that moment of lucidity, all of a sudden you go from being a sort of a victim of a process, a simulation, to understanding I'm dreaming. That moment's quite profound, quite cathartic. Even every time it happens to me, it's still very cathartic. So what if awakening, as we talk about it in samsara, I'm just guessing, but I'm just saying it may be something similar, and there may be clues in our practice of lucid dreaming that will help us to recognize the moment when it happens and just to work towards it. So this is just some thoughts I've had along the way that affect, because it's often been said that this life is but a dream. Well, if that's true, then what if we lucid dream in this life? I guess would be the question that I still ask, and I have no answer for. I'm not prepared to give you any answer to that question, but it's just interesting stuff to ask yourself on this adventure through the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And so that covers it. That's what I do. That's how I sort of make sense out of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and make use of it in my Vajrayana practice. Again, in a teacherless state, none of this should be taken as orthodox or a teaching. Talk to your teacher about it, but this is how I do it, and how I'm preparing for my own mortality with this. This is a profoundly serious topic for me because, again, at 60 you're aware that you I mean, I suppose barring technology, but you're definitely sliding down the downside of things, right? So your clock is ticking down, your mortality becomes much more obvious to you. So I've taken it quite seriously, and this is I tried to keep it like all the things that I try to show you guys and talk to you guys about. I've tried to keep my practice really simple because my life, again, is so small and so simple. Living the way we do, having renounced everything but a 200-pound wagon full of stuff. So um, thank you guys so much for joining me. That's the Tibetan Book of the Dead. All the links and stuff will be in the description. And I'll give you our blessing. The boys are here enjoying just a lovely, lovely late summer day here in the dog park. And we give you our blessing, and may everything today be auspicious. Until next time, bye-bye.